What if I told you that your pain, your anger, your shame are not here to be destroyed, but to be listened to? I know, it sounds almost wrong in a world obsessed with good vibes only and staying positive. Everywhere you look, someone is telling you to think happy thoughts, to banish negativity, to replace every dark feeling with light. You've been taught to believe that healing means erasing the shadows, purifying yourself until only positive energy remains. But what if I told you that's the very reason you still feel stuck? We've mistaken shadow work for some kind of spiritual bleaching, a way to scrub ourselves clean of anything unpleasant. We post affirmations, read self-help books, and try to meditate the darkness away. And yet, the same patterns return. The same triggers keep haunting us. The same pain still lives under the surface, quietly pulling the strings of our lives. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The shadow isn't a pile of garbage to throw away. It is the parts of you that were exiled. The emotions you were told were wrong. The desires you learned to hide just to be accepted. The truth is, you'll never heal by running from the dark. You heal by sitting with it, by looking it in the eyes, by realizing that the shadow isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. In this journey, we're not here to kill the darkness. We're here to make peace with it. And when you do, something extraordinary happens. The very things you've been avoiding become the keys to your freedom. Are you ready to turn toward the part of yourself you've been taught to fear? Before we dive deeper into the truth about shadow work, I want to take just a second to ask you for something simple. If this message is already sparking something inside you, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. That way, you will be the very first to know when I release the next video packed with insights that could completely shift the way you see yourself and your life. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Look around and you'll see it everywhere, an entire culture built on avoiding discomfort. We call it staying positive, focusing on the good, or not letting bad vibes in. But underneath these glossy slogans is something far more dangerous. A collective refusal to face the parts of ourselves we've locked away. We scroll through Instagram reels filled with motivational quotes telling us to just be happy. We drown our silence in endless TikTok videos, binge watch shows until we're numb, or click add to cart just to feel a tiny spike of dopamine. We treat sadness like an intruder, anger like a flaw, shame like a stain to be scrubbed out. And in doing so, we've turned avoidance into an art form. Carl Jung saw this long before social media existed. He spoke of the persona, the mask we wear to appear acceptable, successful, lovable. It's the version of ourselves we show the world, carefully curated to get approval. But what happens to everything that doesn't fit this mask? The fears, the wounds, the raw emotions? They don't disappear. They slip into the shadow, the hidden part of our psyche we try not to acknowledge. And here's the thing Jung warned us about: the shadow never stays silent. What we suppress doesn't vanish, it waits. It finds ways to leak into our daily lives. It shapes our choices without us even realizing it. Until we turn to face it, it will keep directing our lives, and we'll keep calling it bad luck, toxic people, or just how life is. This is why so many of us keep living the same stories over and over. The faces change, but the patterns don't. You swear the next relationship will be different, but somehow you find yourself back in the same painful dynamic. You promise to stop procrastinating, but end up sabotaging your own success. You change jobs to escape burnout, only to feel the same exhaustion a year later. In America, especially, we've built an entire avoidance economy. We reward overwork to escape introspection. We glorify hustle so we don't have to slow down and feel. And when we do crash from burnout, anxiety, or depression, we reach for quick fixes that numb the symptoms, but never touch the root. This endless cycle isn't just exhausting, it's soul-killing. Because the longer we avoid our shadow, the more power it gains over us. The anger we won't acknowledge leaks out in passive-aggressive comments. The sadness we bury turns into apathy. The shame we deny quietly dictates the risks we refuse to take. Jung didn't see these emotions as enemies. He saw them as unintegrated parts of the self, holding pieces of our truth. The problem that we have a shadow is that we keep pretending we dandy. And as long as we keep running from it, we'll stay trapped in the same loops, wondering why nothing ever really changes. The truth is, avoidance feels safe, until it becomes the very thing that's destroying us. Here's the truth most people get wrong. Your shadow isn't evil. It's not some dark, malevolent force lurking inside you, waiting for the chance to ruin your life. It's not the bad side of you. Your shadow is simply the collection of parts you were forced to cut away in order to be accepted by your family, your friends, your culture, even by yourself. Think about it. As children, we're born whole. We laugh when we're happy, cry when we're sad, yell when we're angry, and cling when we're scared. But very early on, we're taught which parts of us are acceptable and which parts aren't. Maybe you were told, "Don't be so sensitive," or "Stop being angry, it's not nice." Perhaps you learned that showing vulnerability made you weak, or that speaking up would get you into trouble. So you adapted. You tucked away your anger, your grief, your desires, your fears. You learned to wear a mask that others would approve of, the persona Jung spoke about. And those rejected parts? They became the shadow. Carl Jung put it simply, there's no light without shadow. That's not just poetic, it's psychological truth. You cannot be fully yourself if you keep amputating the pieces you don't like. Light exists only in contrast to dark. Wholeness is only possible when you integrate, not when you exile. Here's where shadow work changes the game. It's not about exercising the bad parts of you like some spiritual cleansing ritual. It is about integration, bringing those hidden parts back into the fold so they can serve you instead of sabotage you. Take anger, for example. We're taught it's dangerous, destructive, something to avoid. But anger, when integrated, becomes your boundary protector. It tells you when something is wrong, when someone is crossing the line. Without anger, you'd let everyone walk all over you. Or jealousy. We're told it's ugly, a sign of weakness. But jealousy can be a compass. It shows you what you desire, what you value, what's missing in your life. Ignoring it means ignoring the signals pointing you toward your own unmet needs. Even shame, the emotion most of us would do anything to avoid, carries information. Shame can reveal where you've betrayed your own values, where you've lost alignment with who you want to be. When you face it with compassion instead of fear, it becomes a guide toward integrity. Shadow work is the process of reclaiming these exiled parts, understanding the role they were meant to play, and inviting them back in as allies. It is about sitting across the table from the parts of yourself you've been running from and saying, "I see you, I hear you, let's work together." This is why shadow work isn't always comfortable. It requires you to confront what you've avoided for years. But when you integrate instead of exile, you stop living in constant inner conflict. Your shadow stops being the saboteur in the background and starts being part of your strength. And that is when you discover the real magic. The darkness you feared was never trying to destroy you. It was trying to complete you. Understanding that your shadow is not your enemy is powerful, but insight alone doesn't to change your life. Awareness without action is like seeing the locked door, but never turning the key. To truly make peace with the dark, you need to engage with it directly, step by step. This isn't about quick fixes or spiritual shortcuts. It's about building a relationship with the parts of yourself you've spent years avoiding. And the very first step in that relationship is simple in theory, but challenging in practice: recognition. Step 1: recognition. Making peace with the dark begins with one deceptively simple, deeply uncomfortable act: recognizing it. You cannot integrate what you refuse to see. And you can't see it if you keep looking away every time it knocks on your door. Carl Jung famously said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That first step, bringing the darkness into the light of your awareness, is the foundation of shadow work. But here's the challenge. The shadow doesn't introduce itself politely. It shows up in disguise, in your triggers, your overreactions, your moments of shame, your sudden bursts of defensiveness. It's that rush of irritation when someone criticizes you, the pit in your stomach when you see someone else succeed, the way your voice tightens when you feel dismissed. Most of us either justify these reactions. "I was right to be mad," or bury them. "I shouldn't feel that way." Recognition asks you to do neither. Instead, you witness them without judgment. You treat them as signals, not verdicts. One of the most effective tools for this is journaling. Not the polished, Instagram-worthy kind of journaling, raw, unfiltered, brutally honest writing. The moment you feel triggered, grab a notebook and write down exactly what happened. Who was involved? What was said? How did it make you feel in your body? What thoughts did it spark? Here's the key: go beneath the surface story. If you're angry because your coworker interrupted you, ask yourself, why does this bother me so much? Maybe it's not about the interruption. Maybe it's about feeling invisible, unheard, unimportant. That's your shadow speaking. The more you practice this, the more patterns you'll see. You might notice that certain situations, being ignored, being outshone, being told no, consistently spark intense reactions in you. That's not random. Those are shadow hotspots. Each one points to an unmet need, a buried wound, or a part of you that's been exiled. And here's where most people stop. They identify the trigger, then immediately try to fix it. But shadow work isn't about rushing to solutions. It's about sitting with what you've found, letting it exist without shoving it back into the basement. Recognition is uncomfortable because it dismantles your self-image. You have to admit you're not always the calm, rational, kind person you present to the world. You have to acknowledge that you have pettiness, jealousy, resentment, and fear inside. And that these parts have been influencing your life in ways you didn't see. But this is also where the transformation begins. When you name something, you take the first step in reclaiming power over it. When you can write, "I feel jealous because I believe I'm falling behind," you're no longer blindly acting from that jealousy. You're observing it, and that awareness alone starts to loosen its grip. Recognition isn't glamorous, but it's the doorway. And once you've stepped through, you can finally begin the real conversation with the shadow. Step 2. Observing without judgment. Once you've recognized a part of your shadow, the natural impulse is to fix it, explain it away, or shove it back into hiding. We live in a culture that treats discomfort like a problem to be solved as quickly as possible. Feel anxious? Distract yourself. Feel angry? Swallow it. Feel sad? Put on a smile and move on. But shadow work demands a different approach. It asks you to do something that feels completely counterintuitive. Sit with the discomfort without trying to change it. Carl Jung understood that transformation happens not through avoidance or suppression, but through conscious presence. When you observe your shadow without judgment, you're telling it, "I see you. You're allowed to exist here." That simple act can be revolutionary. Here's what this looks like in practice. The next time you feel a strong emotional reaction, anger, jealousy, shame, fear, pause before doing anything else. Take a breath. Notice where it lives in your body. Is your chest tight? Are your shoulders tense? Is your stomach knotted? Stay with those sensations for a few moments. Your mind will want to jump in with stories. "This is stupid. I shouldn't feel this way. I'm overreacting." That's judgment. Notice it too, but don't follow it. Bring your attention back to the raw feeling itself, without labeling it as good or bad. This is what it means to sit with discomfort. You're not indulging the feeling, and you're not denying it. You're simply allowing it to be there. Like a guest in your home you're willing to listen to before deciding what to do next. Why is this so important? Because judgment is a form of rejection, and rejection is what created the shadow in the first place. Every time you criticize yourself for feeling something, you reinforce the belief that part of you is unacceptable. By observing without judgment, you begin to reverse that message. Sometimes just sitting with a feeling for a few minutes can reveal layers you didn't see before. You might realize that your anger isn't about the traffic jam. It is about feeling powerless in your life. Your jealousy isn't about your friend's promotion. It is about your own fear of being left behind. This level of clarity only emerges when you create enough stillness to truly listen. And listening requires patience. So the next time your shadow rises up, resist the urge to distract, analyze, or control. Instead, give it space. Give yourself space. Let the discomfort breathe. In doing so, you'll discover something profound. Feelings are like waves. When you stop fighting them, they rise, crest, and naturally recede. You don't have to drown in them. You just have to allow them to pass through. This is how you begin to make peace with the dark. Not by pushing it away, but by staying present long enough to understand its language. Step 3. Dialoguing with the shadow. Recognition shows you where the shadow lives. Observation allows you to sit with it without flinching. But the real turning point comes when you start to talk to it. Yes, I mean that literally. One of the most powerful questions you can ask your shadow is this: what are you trying to protect me from? You see, every part of you, even the ones that seem destructive, developed for a reason. Your anger might have been your armor when you were small and powerless. Your jealousy may have pushed you to fight for what you wanted in a world that told you to settle. Even your self-sabotage might once have been a way to avoid risks that felt overwhelming. When you start a dialogue, you begin to uncover those original intentions. Instead of treating your shadow like a villain, you approach it like an old, misunderstood friend who's been trying clumsily to keep you safe. Here's how you can do it. Find a quiet space. You can do this in meditation, or you can write it in a journal. The goal is to remove distractions so you can listen clearly. Bring the shadow to mind. Think of a recent situation where it showed up. That flare of rage, that sudden shame, that impulse to withdraw. Ask the question: what are you trying to protect me from? Then, wait. Don't force an answer. It may come as a thought, an image, a memory, or even a physical sensation. Listen without arguing. Your shadow might tell you it's protecting you from rejection, from failure, from being hurt again. It might sound irrational or childish. That's because it often is a younger part of you, frozen in time. Acknowledge its role. Even if its methods are outdated, its intention was to protect you. Say something like, "Thank you for trying to keep me safe. I understand why you've been doing this, but I have new tools now." This process may feel strange at first, but it works because it shifts your relationship with your shadow from adversarial to cooperative. You're not trying to exile it, you're inviting it to share its story. And when it feels heard, it stops fighting for control. Carl Jung believed that what we resist persists, but what we accept transforms. Dialoguing with your shadow is an act of acceptance. It's saying, "You belong here. You're part of me. Let's work together." Over time, you'll notice something profound. The more you talk to your shadow, the less it has to shout to get your attention. Instead of ambushing you in moments of stress, it becomes a quieter, wiser voice, one that can alert you to real dangers without pulling you back into old patterns. And that's when shadow work stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like a partnership. Step 4. Integration recognition opens the door. Observation keeps you in the room. Dialogue builds trust. But integration, this is where transformation truly happens. Integration is not about getting rid of your shadow. It's about giving it a seat at the table, allowing its energy to fuel your life instead of sabotaging it. When you integrate your shadow, you stop seeing it as a threat and start using it as a source of strength. Think of it like this: your shadow holds raw, untamed power, emotional intensity, instinct, drive, creativity. But because it's been locked away, it's been acting out in destructive ways. Integration takes that same energy and channels it towards something that serves you. Let's revisit some examples. Anger as protection. Unintegrated anger might explode at the wrong time or get you labeled as difficult. Integrated anger becomes a steady boundary setter, the part of you that says, "This is not okay," and stands firm without losing control. Jealousy as a compass. Unacknowledged jealousy can poison relationships. Integrated jealousy becomes clarity about your own desires, motivating you to take action toward the life you want instead of resenting others for having it. Fear as awareness. When unexamined, fear can keep you frozen. Integrated fear becomes discernment, helping you recognize real risks without being ruled by imagined ones. Integration is about partnership. You take the wisdom of the shadow and pair it with the discernment of your conscious self. It is no longer the child running the house. It is a respected member of the family whose voice matters, but doesn't dominate. Here's how to practice it. Acknowledge the value. When a shadow part shows up, remind yourself, this energy is useful. I just need to direct it. Channel it intentionally. If you feel anger, instead of lashing out, use that adrenaline to have a calm but firm conversation. If you feel envy, let it spark a plan for what you want to create. Rehearse new responses. Integration isn't instant. It's a habit you build. Each time your shadow rises, you choose to act from your higher self with its help, not against it. Celebrate small wins. Every time you successfully use shadow energy constructively, you reinforce the message, "We are on the same team now." Carl Jung said, "I would rather be whole than good." That's the heart of integration. Being good often means suppressing parts of yourself to fit into society's mold. Being whole means you embrace every part, light and dark, and live from your full capacity. When you integrate your shadow, you reclaim lost energy. You stop wasting power on repression and start using it to create, to love, to protect, to lead. You become grounded, unshakable, not because you've eliminated your darkness, but because you've made it part of your light. This is the moment shadow work stops being theory and becomes your way of life. You've now seen what shadow work really is. It's not a spiritual polish job. It's not about becoming a flawless beam of light that never feels pain, anger, or fear. In fact, it's the opposite. It's the courageous act of turning toward what you've been taught to run from. Because here is the truth. You cannot be fully in the light if you refuse to know the dark. Your light will always feel incomplete, fragile, easily shattered by life's challenges, because it's built on avoidance instead of wholeness. Carl Jung once said, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." That is the paradox of real growth. The deeper you're willing to explore your shadow, the higher and stronger your light can rise. If you spend your life cutting off your roots, you'll always feel unsteady, no matter how hard you chase positivity. Think about it. Every great transformation you've ever had didn't come from avoiding discomfort. It came from facing it, learning from it, and letting it reshape you. Your shadow is not the monster under the bed. It is the treasure you've buried there. And the longer you leave it hidden, the more power it has over you. We've gone through the steps. Recognition, seeing the shadow for what it is. Observation without judgment, sitting with it instead of pushing it away. Dialogue, asking it, "What are you trying to protect me from?" Integration, using its energy as a source of strength instead of sabotage. If you take just one thing from this entire conversation, let it be this. Your shadow isn't here to destroy you. It's here to complete you. Stop running, turn around. And finally, meet yourself. When you do, something remarkable happens. The patterns that used to trap you start to dissolve. The triggers that once controlled you lose their grip. You stop living on autopilot, reacting to life, and start living with intention. because you're no longer split in two. You've become whole. And here is where I want to challenge you. Don't let this just be another video you nod along to and forget tomorrow. Take the next step. Tonight, when something irritates you, when you feel that familiar sting of jealousy, or when you notice yourself shutting down, pause, recognize it, sit with it. Ask it what it's trying to tell you, then share your story. Share it with a friend, a partner, or even in the comments below. Not because you owe anyone your vulnerability, but because speaking about it breaks the silence that keeps the shadow alive. And when you share, you create permission for others to do the same. I know this work isn't easy. It's messy. It's raw. It will challenge everything you've been taught about being good or positive. But the reward is freedom. Freedom from the patterns you thought were fate. Freedom from the invisible strings pulling you back. Freedom to live from your whole self, fierce, gentle, imperfect, and utterly real. And if you want to continue this journey, if you want tools, insights, and deep conversations that will keep guiding you back to yourself, then make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll be the first to know when I release the next piece that could completely change the way you see yourself. Shadow work is not a one-time project. It's a lifelong relationship, one that evolves as you evolve. And each time you choose to face the dark, you bring more of your light into the world. So here's my final invitation. Stop avoiding the parts of you that scare you. Walk into the room you've kept locked for years. Meet the parts of yourself you've called ugly, unworthy, or broken. You may be surprised to find that they've been waiting, not to hurt you, but to hand you back the pieces of yourself you've been missing. Your shadow is not your enemy, it's your completion. And the day you make peace with it is the day you finally come home.